Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the 2022 Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artists Virtual Retreat. My name is Samantha Clark, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am here representing the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. Today's workshop is Healing the Healer, addressing compassion. Let's start that over. My goodness. Right. Today's workshop is Heal the Healer, addressing compassion fatigue through art with Sharon Wise. The goals of this workshop are to make certain we healers have tools for stress reduction in high-paced environments as we serve others, and to share ideas for building sensory tools and comfort items that can be used on the go. Please note that materials needed for this session include cardstock, string, scissors, markers or Sharpies, colored pencils, and stickers. This session is being recorded today, so if you would not like to have your face on camera, feel free to go ahead and turn off your camera now. And closed captioning is available. If you would like this tool, please click the CC Live Transcript button and click on Show Subtitles. And an extra special thank you to Max, who is our captioner for today's session. It is my pleasure to introduce our presenter today. Sharon Wise calls herself a surviving spirit and is a dynamic motivational speaker, national and international artist, and award-winning filmmaker. Her life trials have led to triumphs through her advocacy and humanitarianism. She has assisted in developing training curriculums and operating protocol for American Psychological Association, National Council for Behavioral Health and Mission Healthcare Systems, among others. To learn more about Sharon, please visit the presenters page at midatlantictaretreat.com/presenters. It is now my pleasure to toss it over to you, Sharon.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. And I hope you all get the ultimate experience while you are here with me at this wonderful workshop. I want you all to think about it like this. I am now in a happy place. I am now somewhere where I'm going to get some information about healing the healer, because we are the people that serve. And like Martin Luther King says, not everyone can be famous, but everyone can be great because of service. So I'm really excited to be here. And as Samantha said, I travel all over the world doing this work. I enjoy doing this work, mainly because a lot of the things that I'm going to share with you all was not available when I needed them. When I was entering systems, before I became a professional, before I got involved with trauma work and compassion fatigue, healing the healer, creating tools, resources, and things like that for people like us who are in the helping field, who are the servants, I wanted to make sure that you all knew three things. One, some of the tools and resources, the short film that we're going to see before I start my intervention, it's going to teach you three things. One, the person that's in the film and myself as the writer of the film, Letter to Naya, I was actually preparing for this work. So get your tissue out, because it is a tearjerker, but it's also an educational tool that you all will have access to after this training for free. It's just one of my offerings, one of my gifts that I want you all to have. And then two, what you're going to see in this film is someone who you may have encountered, maybe not the actual person, but someone like the person that you're going to see in this film who needs you. And this is where the compassion fatigue part comes in. And like I said, compassion, like I will say, compassion fatigue is when your heart just runs out of space because you totally identify with the person. And then the last thing that I hope that you all learn is that the person in this film, or the image or the personification of what I'm trying to transfer to the viewer, just imagine yourself being in that position and your trauma goes unaddressed, that no one ever stops by your office or your cubicle and just checks in on their strong friend. And that's where compassion fatigue can be at its best. But what I will say to you all, and I want you to take this home, one of my earlier offerings, is that trauma is real, compassion fatigue is real, but so is hope. So what I want you all to do is grab a bit of popcorn and your tissues and get ready to see this short 9-minute and 54-second film that I wrote. It won an Addy Award, a gold medal, and I got to go all over the world showing it. But I don't want to take too much time talking about it. I want you all to experience it so you all could go ahead and cue Letter to Naya.
Just so much has happened here. So much has happened here. Seeing the debris and everything, it's like everything has a story attached to it. Like something happens to a person and they end up in a place where this is all right, where the trash and the debris, if someone's feces and things like that, you just move it over and you find yourself a space, you know? Somebody has changed their clothes here, and somebody has slept here, and you see a little baby shoe right there. It's no telling how many women have come here to be safe or to sleep, and their children were with them. You see this little bra, and you think, okay, did someone take this off of her? Did someone force her? But when I was on the streets, it didn't matter whether somebody forced me. I was so broken by the time I was 20 years old to where it didn't matter whether somebody has forced me. I was so numb, you know, to just so many different horrors that happen under these overpass.
Dear Naya, if you hate me, you should. You should hate me because I'm the stupidest bitch in the world for giving you and your brother away. I tried so hard to keep you both. But don't you worry about nothing, baby. God got you and Teddy. I love you so much. I tried so hard to keep y'all, but Mama couldn't. You looked so beautiful before I took you to that church in the snowsuit that I stole from Sears. I only wanted a better life other than this homeless shelter and the Peter Pan bus station for baths. I'm so ashamed. I hope someone kills me for what I've done. I hope God kills me for what I've done. Maybe I'll help him. You know I tried before, lots of befores. I'm so sorry I left your brother in the hospital, but he's gonna be safe there. I know someone's gonna get him and he's gonna be safe. Damn. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
People might say, well, who in their right mind would come to this? This was a sanctuary compared to where I grew up at. Your mother boyfriend sexually assaulting you, and then you have no one to tell because your mother don't believe you. No one ever asked me what happened. No one ever asked me about the child abuse and the neglect and running away from home, and no one ever asked me why I was doing that. It was always, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And there was nothing wrong with me. But whatever happened, I ended up here. I ended up with that shoe on, I ended up laying on that rug, I ended up with all of this as my backdrop. And the drugs was a symptom. It was like, let me use this drug, because when I used the drugs, I didn't feel the hurt. Then when I would get raped, it would be like, well, just do it so I can get high.
Dear Naya, you turned 6 years old today, baby. I think that's just about how many tricks I've turned this morning just to get drugs. I'm still getting high, I'm sorry. I just got out of jail again. The judge gave me 90 extra days because I didn't complete any of my parole requirements. My mother tried to find you, but the court said, you were legally adopted, and that I lost all parental rights. Fuck them too. I pray wherever you are, baby, wherever you are, and whatever family that's so blessed to have you, that they're making a big fuss over you, that you have a cake and ice cream and lots of presents. And I hope they sing Happy Birthday Stevie Wonder style. I love you so much, baby girl. Mama gonna get it together one day, baby. Mama gonna get it together.
I got locked up in '89, stayed locked up till '90. Somebody asked me what happened. They weren't that, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? You gave your kids away. Girl, what's wrong with you? It wasn't that, it was what happened. I got mental health services. Somebody addressed my substance abuse, and before you know it, my mother was getting in touch with me regularly saying, do you want to get your son back? And I said, yeah. I got him back in my life. He was 10, and I got legal custody of him at 15. But my daughter was still gone. Look at the generation. My grandmother wasn't wanted, and she had my mother. My mother was the result of a rape, then she had me. She didn't know how to love me, so I gave my kids up. 4 generations of women hurt, broken. Look at everybody that got affected. My children were in foster care because of what happened to my grandmother. And now, hopefully, the cycle is broken.
Dear Naya, I am one of the most blessed people in the world, girl. Yes, I am one of the most blessed people in the world. I mean, who would have thought that after 26 years we would all be reconnected and reunited? Oh, so much has changed. I have changed. I cannot wait to see you. I mean, I have enjoyed the texting and the emails and the Facebook posts. Baby, you so beautiful. One thing I'll say is that, you won't find a mother that surrendered you. And I want to know all about you. I want to know your favorite color. And I want to know if you're left-handed or right-handed. I want to know if you like cats or dogs. I just want to know everything about you. I hope I don't cry. I've been practicing this, but if I cry when I see you, they are tears of joy. They're tears of love. My whole life has come full circle. I can't wait to meet you, baby.
Even in this cold, these little buds are coming out. They're trying to grow, and this is what I'm talking about. In all of this debris, there's a blue jay over there. There's flowers growing, and my recovery started long before I got from under this bridge. Because the bridge and the overpass and the cutting and the drugs were all a part of the recovery, if that makes sense. And what I mean is that just like this bud, amongst all this filth and all of the cold and the snow, is still trying to live. I'm the flower that's gonna bloom. I'm the flower that has bloomed, but I have to continue to water and nurture myself by letting my soul be free of what happened. Some of it wasn't my fault, some of it was my fault. The main thing is surrendering my children. I always say, what's my fault? You know, with my son, I remember the night I took him. I tried to keep my kids. I tried so hard to keep them. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm in this space because I have to let some things go. I have to let my soul be all right with what happened. Is me and my daughter relationship perfect? No, not yet. But the operative word is yet.
Yeah. So that is what I wanted to share with you all. And I wanted to share that with you all because of the three things I talked about when it comes to healing the healer. As you see on the film, I'm an advocate, an artist. I go all over the world doing this work, but I had to let my soul be free with what happened in order for me to be the person that I'm here today at this workshop, which I am so grateful for them for even selecting me. It was a very competitive process in order to even be a speaker here. And I'm just so grateful that they saw in me some of the things that I'm doing around the globe to have me here with you all. So whether there's one person here or whether there's 5,000 people here, I want to give you part of me as if no one's looking, like, you know, like you dancing in the aisle like nobody's looking. That's what we're going to be doing today. So as I go into, and the other thing, I didn't want to have a bunch of PowerPoint because I think that for me, when I'm doing this kind of work, especially the creative art stuff, PowerPoints can be very distracting. I know they can be for me. But as what's happening here now with the CC words and things like that, we're able to close caption. I'm sure the transcripts and things like that can be made available to you all if anyone wants to just kind of go over some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So as it says in the chat and some of the things that I sent in advance, the materials needed for this session is the cardstock, which I love, just some regular white paper cardstock, some string. And once again, what I will say about the string that I use, and it's just some hemp cord. I have sensory issues, so I don't like really waxy colored, waxy textured string and things like that. And the only reason I'm sharing this with you all is because as we as healers do our work, we really must know our sensory diet. And when I'm working with people and I'm working with organizations, after I do an event like this or a trauma one-on-one or healing trauma through the use of the arts or something like that, I like to come back and do a sensory assessment with each person. And the sensory assessment, they teach you about the things that you like when it comes to your senses. I like a textured paper, so my paper is kind of textured. I like a hemp string. I like vanilla smells. I like, different things in my topography when I'm looking out my window. So I have a higher chair when I'm doing this and a lower chair when I'm doing that. All of that is needed for the healer, for us who are these servant people, in order to do what we do. Because when you know your sensory diet, when you know your smell, your taste, what you like to see, what you like to touch, what you like to hear, you're better to operate. And so that's some of the things that we're going to talk about today. So I like to have a cardstock that's a little thick, that's textured. So as you're doing the exercise, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of the exercises, and then I'm going to talk a little bit, and then we're going to come back to the exercises and things like that. So with your cardstock, you're going to take your scissors and you're gonna cut your paper in half, just whatever half means to you. It don't have to be down the middle. It can be, you know, a little further over. It could be wherever you want it to be. So I'm just gonna, just for sake of time, I cut mine in 2 pieces like this, and then I put them together. You then take your 2 pieces and you just fold them. All I did was folded the 2 pieces together, and I folded it. And it doesn't have to be even. It doesn't have to make sense. The thing I want everyone to do is just to relax and not try to color within the lines, because some things aren't colored within the lines. So once you get your 2 pieces and you got them together, that don't have to be perfect, you're gonna take your stapler, and I know it doesn't have staplers on here. It says just the scissors and the string, but you could take a stapler and you can staple it here, or all these supplies that I have here, I got from the dollar store. You could take a hole puncher from the dollar store and punch a hole in there, and one here. Then what you're gonna do, and like I said, so you have your cardstock, your string, and your scissors, you don't even need a stapler or a hole puncher. You could take your scissors very carefully, because scissors are very sharp, and you could punch a hole in them with your scissors. You just wiggle them around, put your finger here very carefully, and you wiggle a hole in until you get a hole through there. See, you made a hole there with your scissors. And then you take it, go down a little further from this hole, and you can make another hole very carefully with your scissors or a hole puncher or whatever you have, and you're gonna make a hole there. Now you have 2 holes, and whether you staple it here or you use your 2 holes here, you're gonna then take your string, take a piece of string, because you can cut it to size. Remember, you can make your string very long, because you can cut things shorter, but you can't cut things longer. And then you just gotta run them through the holes that you made in your paper, in your cardstock. Tie it up like that. I'm gonna show you on screen. And now you have, it's closed your little book that you're making with your cardstock, okay? And then you do it again on the bottom level. Like I said, you just cut a piece of string, whatever color you have. You might even have an old t-shirt around the house. You could cut the very edges of a t-shirt and use that, especially if it's a t-shirt that you have that's part of your uniform, or maybe it's something that you wear to work, that sometimes it's just your happy t-shirt. It makes you feel happy when you wear it. And it's one of your old ones. So you're gonna run the other string through the other hole that you made, like that. And then once again, you're going to tie that up. So when you finish, you end up with a little book with strings on it, okay? And it's got little pages here. Then what you can do is you take another piece of your cardstock and you cut it like that, and you have a piece that looks like this. Once again, you're going to take your scissors and make a little hole there, or you could take a hole puncher. Like I said, you can get them at the dollar store and make a little hole there. And with another piece of string, you're going to run that through that hole. Now you have something that you can actually take to market. Tie that string through that hole, and now you have a book marker. So you have a little book and you have a book marker. So these become part of your grounding tools. And then you take some of your stickers, your permanent marker. I like the little Sharpies. Like I said, you can get about 4 or 5 of these at the dollar store. And what I want you all to start doing is to make this book, the little book, your own. Put your name on it. It can be called, I'm just gonna call mine Sharon's Happy Book. Okay. And having these really cool markers, and I cut this part here and I made my book marker out of it. You can then take this part here, put little stickers, butterflies, things like that on it. I went to the dollar store again and I found these really cool butterflies. Look at these really cool butterflies. And you get 4 of them for $1. You could take one of the butterflies off. They got little stickies on the back, like here. And guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it on my little book. Look how cute that is. Sharon's Happy Book. I have my little string that I'm gonna cut as short as or as long as I like. And then you can open it and you can start writing down some things. So as I'm going through my reading, I want you all to be, because we're gonna have a little report out and I want you all to show me what you made. And like I said, there's so many things you can get from the dollar store. I found these little happy faces. They're really cool. You get about 6 in a pack and they have a little sticky back to them. They're really, really cute. And they're just little happy faces. So on my first page, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a happy face right there. And then under it, you can write, I'm happy today for this or that. And it can become your gratitude book. It can become the thing that you look forward to when you get up in the morning, because you start to think about, I wonder what I'm gonna write in my happy book. I wonder what I'm gonna be grateful for. You know, is it the girl that puts the extra napkin in my McDonald's bag? Or maybe I get an extra sauce from the Taco Bell girl. You know, all these little cool things that you can write in your happy book. And you can take it to work, which is why it's so cool. And I'm going to show you all some other resources and tools that you can have. Things you can even cut your book in half and make it smaller so it fits in your pocket or it fits in your pants or your dress pocket or your pocketbook. Things that you can get through too quickly when you are feeling overwhelmed at work. So while you all are working on your little book or your book marker, you still have your book marker that you can take another one of your butterflies or stickers or whatever you have, and you could take that and you can also apply that to your book marker. Now your book and your book marker have these really cool stickers. And I know a lot of times when we think about stickers, we want to go and get the little small ones and things like that. But I'm telling you, and I get no kind of kickbacks or payments or anything from the dollar store, but they have some really cool things, especially like the butterfly, or you might decide to get some cool letter stickers and things like that, where you can spell your name out or someone you care about, your child, your grandchild, your pet's name, and you can also put those on your little book. So as you're working on that, I want to share just a few things with you all. Essential employees devote their careers to helping people who need them. Sometimes their efforts go unnoticed and unrewarded. Protracted exposure to secondary trauma is the cause of compassion fatigue. So when I'm talking about secondary trauma, or what you may know as vicarious trauma, it's the witnessing, it's the being at work or being in a particular industry where people are coming to you for something. So a lot of my clients are, psychiatric nurses, large hospital systems. I train law enforcement. I train social service workers, homeless, outreach workers. I train so many what I call my essential heroes and sheroes, those front end people who, someone asked a question, give me 1 minute here. Is on to letter tonight, and you can go on YouTube and check that out. When I got the funding and I raised the funding to produce Letter to Naya, I made a deal with the people that funded it that the film would be free to view for 10 years without anybody paying a dime to view it. So that is another one of my gifts to you all, because you're the people that make a difference in other people's lives. So getting back to secondary trauma and vicarious trauma, it is the #1 cause of compassion fatigue for healers like us. People come in, the woman you've been trying to serve is pregnant again by the guy who's abusing her, the guy relapsed again, the family that you're working with seem to can't get it. They keep reenacting the trauma or traumatic incidents, hoping that if they just play it through their mind 1,000 times, they'll come up with some resolution instead of living in peace with the resolution and that it happened yesterday. So us as healers, when we're doing this work, we have to be very, very careful to make sure that we have grounding tools around us to be able to go to when we are serving other people. And that is why I wanted to do this type of exercise and some of the other tools that I'm going to show you all. So you'll have things that even if someone's in your office, you got something you can hold on to. If you know that that difficult client is coming in, you take your little book out or your book marker out and you sit it in your lap or you have it somewhere where you could touch it so you could ground yourself. Or like we say in psychology, you can bind your anxiety. So some people on this particular training, they may even wonder, well, what is compassion fatigue? And it has different connotation based on the industry that you are going to be working in, or rather it's your industry or whatever. And compassion fatigue, often called secondary trauma or vicarious trauma, compassion fatigue is that overwhelming, and it can be very, very exhausting. It can make you feel mental and physical pain and emotions. In other words, it's when your heart runs out of space, okay? Unfortunately, the cost of being overly empathetic and open to the sufferings of others, especially if internally there is unaddressed trauma, the more likely a person feels the suffering personally of someone else. Now, I am not saying that people on in this training safe space has unresolved trauma. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about, I want you to just entertain me for a minute as you are creating whatever your grounding tool is, whether you're doing the book marker or whether you're doing a little book. I want you to have something that you can be honest with, not saying that anybody is on here being dishonest, but that becomes your little space where you could write down those little secret hurts or those things that may have happened that you haven't told a soul about. One of those things, like my grandmother say, honey, I'm going to take that to my grave, you know. But these things that go on in our life that we never may talked about or we never got resolved. A prime example is I was working with a young man, I'm just going to call him Joey. And Joey was 25 years old. And I was working with one of the very big hospital systems in North Carolina. And he kept having these episodes where he was constantly being secluded and restrained. And that's one of the practices that I am totally against. I know sometimes in some instances that people might use it, whether it's chemical restraint or whether it's physical restraints. But one thing that I found out in my research, and I have lots of it to back it up, as well as in my empirical research, and when I've gone to systems or in different places and I've witnessed it with my own eyes, is that once you lay hands on someone, the therapeutic alliance is disrupted. You know, and anyway, Joy had been restrained at least twice. So when I got to the hospital system and I asked them, well, first I wanted to see his record, his medical record. Went and read his medical record, realized that he had suffered the trauma this young man had suffered was really a lot. And which trauma overwhelms your ability to cope. So some people might say that trauma is mental illness. Mental illness is really a byproduct of trauma, you know, and I know some people may disagree, and that's fine. But people that have trauma, not all of them have mental illness, but everyone with mental illness, there's lots of research to show there has been some kind of traumatic events. I know it sounds like an oxymoron, and that's fine. We can talk about it later. You all can call me later about it. But anyway, after I read his chart, I realized he had this severe trauma. And then there was a note from an earlier psychiatrist who had seen him probably 15 years earlier, just a couple of lines, and it said, Joey's stepfather would come in his room unannounced. He wouldn't knock or anything and just beat him for no reason. So I asked the staff, did you all know this about Joey? None of them did. They never bothered to read his trauma assessment. And what I would say, not saying that anybody is on here who does a trauma assessment or works in a system that does a trauma assessment, but what I will say is that when you are serving people, you must know who you're serving, or you're putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And that's why sometimes when it comes to compassion fatigue, us healers end up constantly being re-traumatized because people are coming in and they're not knocking on the door. So you wonder why Joey kept throwing chairs at people and getting restrained. Well, the information was right in his chart. And the resolution to it all was just knock on his door before you come in and announce yourself. So I see in the chat, people are having questions. So I want to stop here and open it up so that people can ask some questions. Please ask, unmute yourself or whatever if people want to ask a couple of questions before I go on. Or you can put your questions in the chat and I'll answer them. Okay, well, no one has questions right now. So that, okay, go ahead.
Oh, I completely agree with what you're saying about the answers are in the chart. How do you go about if there are situations where, because I'm a teaching artist that may not always have any kind of chart available to me, and I can tell something's going on and I talk to the parents, if I have access to the parents, as right away, and they don't say, because I understand the stigma of mental illness and of other conditions that are not seen. So what is your professional advice on approaching parents?
My professional advice, and this isn't to everyone, and I know it's not a one size fit all, but when I first started training as a artist who was going to be doing this work, the healing work for front end youth, the teacher or things like that, is I learned about color therapy. I learned about shapes and things like that that a person would use in their art. And a lot of times what I would do is I would start the artist session with that. Like I would ask them, okay, everybody, you could come up here and you could choose the colors that you want to do your exercise or your project, or you could choose some paper and things like that. Colors tell a lot, as well as images, things that people are drawing. Because what I found out in doing this work is that a lot of people's trauma happen pre-verbal. They happen before they have language. Or if it happens after language is developed, the thing about trauma is that it affects the Broca's area of the brain. And what is the Broca's area responsible for? Language. People lose their ability to communicate. So when you are doing artist workshops, I would encourage you to look at what people are creating. Because if it's going to be a long-term creative artist and artist, teacher, and client or customer or person experience, if you do see something that's going on, or before you even know something's going on, because in trauma, in the work that I do, I assume everybody's got a trauma history. That way you're treating people with compassion. But because I've addressed my own trauma, the compassion fatigue is very minimum. I don't overly empathize with someone who may be struggling because I see that that's me in them. I'm no different from those that I'm doing these sessions with. And when I see these little indicators and things like that, I don't try to serve someone and I'm not prepared to serve them. If that option is open to work with a parent or work with the school or whoever your client base is, whoever's the leadership, or however way that person ended up in your workshops or your teaching sessions and things like that, I would try to get the word to someone that this person might need some other resources. I wouldn't call it therapy or this person's having some challenges or whatever, I would just say this person needs some other, in a very happy place kind of way, I would let someone know that this person needs some other resources, but I would continue to see them, because what I found in the creative expression is that people can resolve things through creative expression, which is why show and tell was the most fabulous class in the whole school. And I don't know why they took show and tell out, because you could find out a lot when people are creating things like what I had you all to do, and then report out of why they did it. That's another space for you to gain information, because if you can, I don't care if it's 2 words, oh, I just did it. That's some information that you can then use to build upon. And then maybe some of the things that you give them, it might be a little extra homework, or maybe you'll have them to stay afterwards or something like that to help you wipe the blackboard down. And that way you can pick and get you some other little nuggets here and there while you're working with that person, and get these things and these answers that you're looking for. So life direct trauma, compassion fatigue can be caused by a single exposure or caused by a period of time from those we serve, whose causes us to be triggered by those we are trying to serve in a way where we cannot resolve them while we're in the room with that person, which is why having your little sensory tools, things you can ground and bind your anxiety when you know you're going to probably be overwhelmed, or maybe you start to realize when certain days or smells, that's where that sensory diet comes in at. Certain textures, or maybe you're working in a certain room or something that reminds you of something, you have your grinding tools, okay? You have those things that you can go to, your go-to things for making your little book or your bookmarker and things like that. They become those things that you can use. Compassion fatigue can sometimes mirror PTSD. When I'm working with returning veterans, they tell me all the time, Ms. Wise, it wasn't what happened to me. It was that witnessing, it was that watching my friend be blown up in Humvee, because with secondary trauma and with the witnessing, it renders you helpless. And that's why children who watch domestic violence, or mommy being yelled at, or daddy being yelled at for that matter, sometimes and then they get into this type of work, they have overwhelming compassion fatigue because they can't help mommy or they can't help daddy. So someone put in here, I eat and drink, should do this instead. Hey, if eating and drinking rocks your boat, baby, let's get that thing going. Oh, honey, whatever is your go-to happy place, that is what I want you to do, honey. I see you talking about, and that's the other part of when we talk about, if we were just talking about trauma and what trauma does and things like that. And that's why I mentioned earlier that, with people who have mental illness, a lot of times most of those people have trauma, but not everybody with trauma have mental illness, and that the mental illness is kind of like a byproduct. But it's what trauma does, because when you think about it and it overwhelms your capacity to cope, a lot of times when people have it, excuse me, it's thundering and lightning really bad here. A lot of times when people have it, they have what we call adaptive symptoms, or the adaptive tools that they use in order to deal with the compassion fatigue or deal with whatever is happening in their life. And it can mirror gambling, sexing, overeating, drinking. It could be a whole array of things that people go to help bind their anxiety. But Sharon today is trying to get you to use your happy bookmarker instead of a bottle of wine, because I want to tell you something. Someone's cutting is somebody's drug use. We say, is drug abuse self-destructive, or is it a person's desperate attempt at self-healing? So overeating, same story. Is it self-healing? Is it a desperate attempt at calming themselves down? Is the compassion fatigue, are they overwhelmed? Instead of going jogging or maybe gardening at the work, they do some type of self-destructive. That is why the CDC, or the Center for Disease Control, has picked up the ACEs too high, or the adverse childhood experience study, Because if you are 9 years old and you start to do some self-destructive thing to help bind your anxiety, now you're a healer and you're in this type of work that we do, and you have compassion fatigue and you're still smoking from back when you were 9, the likelihood of you having heart disease at 45 increases about 400%. So you see where I'm going with this, that it doesn't matter what you use when it comes to compassion fatigue. Whatever are your adaptive tools and resources and things that you use, you want to make sure at least some of them are healthy and things that you can use that could be these positive things. Now it's time to go to our happy place by thinking and instituting these preventive and supportive routines and tools that can be used in any setting. Solid self-care and sensory tools applied in your daily life have proved to be useful and powerful remedies for compassion fatigue. Now, another thing that I want to show you all, like I said, once again, I get all of this stuff from the dollar store. And I know I didn't put this on the materials, but it was some things that I just wanted to break you in on. I wanted to cut my teeth with you all as I show you all some other tools and resources that you can use for yourself when you have, when you're overwhelmed at work, or as a healer, you may have, or may be getting ready to have a bit of compassion fatigue. And it's called the Pocket Spa. These little plastic pillow, party favor pillows, you can get them at the dollar store. You can order them on Amazon. I order 100 or 1,000. It all depends if I got a big thing that I'm doing, a big workshop or something like that. And they just open up, you know, at the bottom. They're just really fun. And they come flat like this. The density is about nothing, it's 0. And what you do is you just open it a little bit and you fold one part of it down like that. One closed in. Very, very simple because it closes very, very easily. And now you have this part, it's open. And what you can do is make yourself a little pocket spa. A pocket spa is something like a little spa that you put in your pocket. Once again, it has the same purpose as your other healing tools or sensory tools or binding your anxiety or grounding tools that you can have. And what I did is I found some of these little candles. I think I got 6 or 7 in a package at the dollar store. And I just put it in my little envelope here. Okay. And then I found these cute little bottles. I got 6 in a pack for $1.25. And I just put me some body butter in here or some organic bath salt. Once again, talking about sensory. You may like a rougher texture or something. Maybe you need something and you have access to water and you can wash your hands. Or sometimes you can just put your favorite body butter or lotion inside of your little bottle, and that goes in there like that. And hard candy. I get a whole bag of these, about 40 pieces for $1.25 at my favorite dollar store. And this also goes in my little pocket spa. And then you close the end. Okay, come on and close. Now you have a little pocket spa, something that can go right in your pocket or right in your purse, or maybe you're a supervisor and you have other artists that you are serving. You can make these for about $1.40. And this can change people's lives. You know why? Because just imagine right before your art class, you're feeling a little overwhelmed. Maybe you rushed from your other job, or your dog is sick, or maybe the bird got a flu or something like that. I don't know. But it could be anything that may be causing you to be a little overwhelmed. And you take your little pocket spot out real quick. You take your little candle out. You cut it on. So you could tell yourself, honey, you are the light of the world. You're going to be just fine. And you put your little light there. Put your little light there. And then you open your little body butter and put a little body butter on your hand. Smell it. We're talking about sensory now. Smell it. And that smell says, sweetie, in about 2 hours, you're going to be finished with your class and you're going to be home cuddling with your dog or your husband or your woman or your man, whatever, your kids, with your favorite bowl of ice cream. And then you pull out your little hard candy, hunty, and you suck on it for a little while, because research has told us, especially if you look at some work that Dr. Bruce Perry has done, Dr. Daniel Pink, or Dr. Felitti has done, it will tell you that when you suck, it's repetitive. And repetitive rhythmic movement helps you calm yourself down. That's why I'm sure some of us got, you know, that person that's always twirling their hair, or their foot just be going under the desk, or they rock or something like that, because that rocking and that repetitiveness, it helps you calm yourself down. So that's another tool, another resource that you have, your little pocket spa that you can make for little or nothing to help with your binding of your anxiety. You can also get these little magnet pieces. You can get about 6 or 7 in a pack at the dollar store, where you could take your book, or you could take your bookmarker, or you could take one of your butterflies and you put it on the magnet. Now you have a little butterfly magnet to remind you about the transformation that you're going from one place in your life as you become more healed and things like that. You begin to understand compassion fatigue. You begin to understand what triggers you. You begin to resolve those past traumatic incidents. And now you got a really cool butterfly. The whole thing costs about 96 cents to make. You can make all of your other artist teachers one, or you could punch a little hole in it and add a little key ring to it. Now you have a butterfly key ring. You could also get these really cool frames. Once again, I get these from the dollar store, and you could write little affirmations inside of them and slip it right back inside. It has these little hooks here. You just unfasten it, open up your little frame, pull out the same paper that was in there, turn it over, get your marker, one of your markers, sorry about the ambulance, and just write, "You are loved." If you got some small stickers, you may put one on there. You put it back in your frame, seal it up, tighten up your little clips on the back, and now you have a little framed item for less than $1 that you can sit on your desk and you can touch it and know that you're gonna be fine. You don't have to get overwhelmed, because the little boy who's always saying mean things to you when he comes in, and his parents never stay for the session, whatever that thing is that causes you to have compassion fatigue, that you can do that. So don't let burnout be your friend. You want to burn up. You could write a letter to yourself, 49 cents, get you some little cards, write a letter to yourself. I love you, mail it, put a stamp on it, and mail it. In 3 days, you'll get something really cool from yourself. We only have about 3 or 4 minutes, but I want to open it up for questions. So anybody got any questions for me?
I don't have a question, but I definitely wanted to say I was very touched and moved by your story. I've had a lot of family members, and I've taught a lot of students who have trauma, and it reveals itself in different ways. And seeing your story, and I loved how you mentioned that a lot of people were asking what's wrong with you versus what happened. And I think changing that narrative is important. And I just wanted to thank you for sharing that. I found some very useful tools in what you were presenting. And I just wanted to say I appreciated everything that you've shared and all of the resources.
Yes, yes, yes. And the resources, like I said, this is all stuff very cost effective. I always try to make sure that whatever I'm offering is cost effective, because I know sometimes budgets can be strained. And then if you're working with parents or people, caregivers, you can show them how to do all this stuff. It's stuff they already have around their house. You know what I'm saying? So I'm putting my phone number in the chat. And this is my business number. And then this way, if anybody has any follow-up questions, if they don't want to ask them here, they can always follow up with me and they can ask me in a one-on-one. Don't forget, you are the light. And if you want to cut your light on, you can. But if you want to walk around with no light, it's totally up to you. But I like the light.
Oh, Sharon. What a wonderful way to end. Such a beautiful sentiment. Thank you so, so much. I know I'm taking with me this idea of the sensory diet. Oh, I love that about what works for me. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for leading today's session. Thank you for all those who participated. Before we end, we'd love to take a minute to hear from you about how this workshop resonated with you. Our producer has posted a quick Zoom poll. It has 4 questions. Please feel free to fill those in. We have about 1:30 to go ahead and fill those in. While you are doing that, I will encourage you again to check out that Mid-Atlantic Create and Innovate Award. If you haven't yet, please check it out. I can share the link in the chat. Oh, and yeah, apparently polls do not work on Chromebook. So weird. Thank you for sharing that, Christopher. And then if you haven't checked out the Mid-Atlantic Create and Innovate Award, it is a chance for teaching artists in the Mid-Atlantic region to win a $1,000 cash prize. Please check it out. I popped the link in the chat. The application is right there. And yes, there is more than one award. So we are hoping possibly to get one from each state or region. Hope that's the hope we're wishing. So yeah, please click that link. And another question that came in: will this grant will this cash reward qualify you from other Mid-Atlantic awards or grants? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So please apply. These are great questions. Thank you so much. As you complete this poll, I think it's done or almost done. Again, acknowledging that the 2022 Mid-Atlantic Teaching Artists Virtual Retreat is a co-sponsored project of the Mid-Atlantic State Arts Agencies in partnership with National Endowment for the Arts and the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies. We are so grateful for the generous support of all these collaborators and for your participation today. Great. And again, as this poll closes in 10 seconds, thank you, Allie. We look forward to seeing you in our closing session today at 5:50, directly following this workshop. We hope you enjoyed these past 2 days. And after the closing session, we hope you take some time away from the screen. Take some time away from the screen, take care of yourself, get some good vanilla scents in the air to calm down and be the light. Thank you all so much.